Hey everyone, this is Dr. Drizzle, and welcome to the National Parks Adventure, Crossing America. Today, we're in Haleakalā National Park on the island of Maui. Thank you so much to Haleakala and the National Park Foundation for allowing us to be here today. And Ranger Honeygirl, I have been waiting for this for 2 years. We have been planning to come and we weren't able to get over here, but thank you so much for allowing us to be here today.
Aloha Desha, ekipa mai ma Haleakalā National Park. So welcome to the National Park here at Haleakala. And we're so happy to have you.
Well, we're thrilled to be here. Before we get started in talking about this beautiful place, can you tell me your journey to the national parks?
For sure. Haleakalā National Park is actually my second career. I started off in the tourist industry doing helicopter sightseeing tours.
Wow.
I worked on the tarmac, so that's going to be loading and unloading the aircraft, giving safety briefings to our passengers and getting them safely on the aircraft, and then deboarding them back when they land, and working with tourists in that way. I went back to school and I got my degree in cultural and natural resource management. Here in Hawaii it's called Malama Aina degree, and it really helped me and kind of set me up to where I am today. It opened up the world of conservation for me, and it really got me interested in my ancestors and when they first came to Hawaii and how they use our natural resources to what we know today as culture here in Hawaii, using plants for clothing and dyes and scenting your clothing. So that really fascinated me, and I kind of went down that pathway. And the park, Haleakalā National Park, had a career fair or a career workshop. I was ready to go. I had my resume in hand and I had a conversation with someone who would be my supervisor in the future. After that workshop, I got a call 3 weeks later and asked me, hey, Honeygirl, would you be interested in working for the National Park Service? And naturally, my answer was, yes, I would be. And so this year makes 12 years I've been here at Haleakalā National Park.
Well, that's a great story, because what it did is it just sort of directed your passion into your purpose almost, that this is where you've lived all your life, it's where you've loved all your life, and now you're sharing that with thousands and thousands of people. So it's Haleakalā National Park, so many things here. Can you start off and just tell us a little bit about how it became a national park, and then some of your favorite things? We won't tell everything about the park because we want the kids to do some research on their own, but tell us your favorite things.
Absolutely. So Haleakalā National Park became a national park all the way back in 1916, and we were part of Hawaii National Park, which includes Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. In 1961, we split and we became our own national park, but we do still celebrate that 1916 date. Haleakala is so special in so many different ways, and I think one of them is going to have to be, definitely our culture and our natural resources, but majority of what you see here today, just all around us, majority of these plants and the birds that we hear singing in the distance are endemic species. And because of our location, Hawaii is known for our endemism, which means that we have the highest amount of endemic species found in Hawaii, more than any other places in the world, because of our isolation. The nearest continent to us is going to be about 2,500 miles away, which is North America. And so anything that's going to be coming to Hawaii on their own without people's help is going to have to adapt and survive and become their own species here. So I think, you know, one of the plants and animals here, like, I'm always learning, you know, like even though we don't have those 4 major seasons like you do on the mainland, we are seasonal in the fact of, oh, this is blooming this time of the year. That means we're going to probably most likely see more of our honey creeper birds. Or, oh wow, what's that? You know, I didn't see that bloom before. So it's always a state of learning and discovery. Even 12 years here, I'm always still learning new things about our plants and animals. Insects found nowhere else in the world. There's still insects waiting to be discovered. And so, you know, those future park rangers, we still got stuff to do here. Absolutely.
So 1916, when it became an official park, but Haleakala has been here forever. What is the origin of Haleakala? What is the story of this place?
Yeah, absolutely. So the cool thing about our Hawaiian island chain, we are in the middle of the Pacific tectonic plate. Below us is this magma chamber that we call the hot spot. For the most part, the hot spot is stationary, and so what's happening is, as the hot spot, my hand is the hot spot, is pretty stationary. My top hand, my flat hand, over it is going to represent our tectonic plate. As the tectonic plate is moving northwest, more islands are being created. And as the plate moves further away, the less active these volcanoes become, and they become islands. Eventually, they'll erode out and go back into the ocean. So all the way till Kure Atoll, all those islands from the Big Island of Hawaii to Kure Atoll, everything in between is part of our Hawaiian island chain. And so that's our creation. And if you take it back to culturally, Hawaiians have been doing oral history from the beginning. And so there's a creation story called Kumulipo that connects everything that was created, everything on land and everything in the ocean and everything in between. So what you have in the mountain, you also have a representative in the ocean. A good example for that is going to be our Iiwi bird, our scarlet honey creeper. The representative of that in the ocean is going to be our Hinalea, our bird wrasse. And if you look at the two, the bird wrasse has this kind of snout, kind of like our Iiwi, which has this beautiful long beak that helps it to get into our flowers to get their nectar.
So it sounds like this place is a place of connections, from the creation of the islands to the flora and fauna here, the plants and animals. So you spoke about the birds. Tell us about some more of the names, because these are not birds that I've ever heard of, which makes sense if they're endemic.
Absolutely. So some of the birds that are commonly found in this area that we're at is our honey creepers, which is going to be our Iiwi, which is our scarlet honey creeper. We also have an apapane, which is also red, but its beak is black, its feet is black, and it has a white rump. So when you see a red bird flying, the key is looking for that white rump, so you can tell the two red birds apart. We also have our amakihi, and we also have our alawahio. Those are going to be some of the more common birds around here. The not so common birds that are critically endangered are going to be our kiwi-Q, which is our Maui parrot bird, and its bill looks like a parrot, and it uses its bill to pry open the bark in our trees, and it's an insectivore, so it's going to eat insects. And the other one is called an akohekohe. It has a crest right on top of its head. It's a great pollinator, you know, so these birds are pollinating our trees, and in turn the trees are giving them a food source and shelter and space to live in.
Another connection, if you will. we'll come back to the birds because I think that that's something critical we want to talk about to our kids, but we also have these beautiful plants and trees. But not all of them were here, right? They were introduced. Tell us a little bit about where we are right now in the story of this place.
Yeah, so right now we're in a place called Hosmer's Grove. Now, it gets its name from Hawaii's very first forester, whose name was Ralph Hosmer. And he came to Hawaii to help us figure out how to control an erosion problem that we had. If you think of Hawaii, you know, we're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So anything that's native that's going to come to Hawaii is either, we call it the 3 W's. So it's either going to come here by wings, by winds, or by wave. And so we have these animals like pigs and goats and deer that were introduced to Hawaii and roamed free. Well, our plants naturally here have no defense mechanisms against these kinds of animals. So these plants that you see here were gone at one time. So this is a product of fencing those goats out and allowing these to thrive, because the seed bed in the soil are still rich with the seeds from the native plants, and so now that they can grow. The trees that were planted here, like eucalyptus and all sorts of pines and cedars, were kind of a solution to help us control some of that erosion. Meaning when the rains fell, there was nowhere for the water to go except into the streams, polluting the streams, ending up in the ocean. Since these shrubs are our diversity, they help retain that water when it falls. And so if you look at the plants carefully, there are a whole bunch of different kinds of plants all mixed within each other. And so that's that diversity that Hawaii has. And so these trees, they're beautiful, but they're very expensive to cure. We tried to see if we could get some logging, especially when there were whaling ships coming in or ships coming in that needed to be repaired. So it was very expensive to cure these eucalyptus. And then they're absolutely beautiful, and you know, I think they give people a sense of being elsewhere, like being in a forest in the mainland. But they didn't quite do the trick that we were hoping. But it's definitely something that we can learn from for the future and for other areas that want to restore a watershed or a place where water collects. Truly we are on an island, and so every drop that we get is so important for the survival of people and of our plants and our animals here.
Which makes a lot of sense. So you guys, everyone that's lived here, that's something important to them, that water is life sort of thing. They need to have that. I want to talk about, though, another endangered, critically endangered, those birds you were talking about. As you know, we try to let students come up with ideas. Let me scratch that. We do let students come up with ideas because they're really great solution seekers. They know how to solve problems. So tell us, I know you have some interns here working with you. Tell us about some of the projects happening with birds, and then we'll see if we have some ideas from our kids to help out.
Absolutely. So when we talked about native and non-native species of things coming in by itself, which is a native species, or things that are introduced, which is a non-native species, one of those non-native species that made it to Hawaii are mosquitoes.
Oh.
Yeah, and you know, mosquitoes is not a native thing here, and so birds here in Hawaii basically thrived without them. And mosquitoes are known to carry human diseases and bird diseases. So our birds, when they get bit by a mosquito, that mosquito infects them with avian malaria and avian pox. And when we think about how the climate is changing and higher elevations are getting warmer, that means the potential for mosquitoes to also move up high in elevation. This is the last habitat for our critically endangered birds, meaning the further you go up the mountain, the less resources they have, the less shelter, the less food that they have. And so this is kind of the spot where they can't go any further. So if mosquitoes make it up this high, then that's going to put our birds in greater risk of extinction. And so saving our forest birds is one of the 5 top priorities that our park has in order to try to combat that and save our forest birds. Again, these forest birds are endemic. They're found nowhere else in the world, and once they are gone, and we can't do anything about it. So some of the projects that we have going to help with the birds and saving our birds is lots of research, lots of surveys, doing research with mosquitoes. And this is kind of fun to say. It's a bacteria that a lot of insects have, including mosquitoes, called Wolbachia. Wolbachia. And the mosquitoes that we have a certain strain, certain kind of bacteria in them. So what we, and not just Haleakala, but we've partnered up with many of our partners here on the islands, nonprofit and other government agencies, is to introduce a different strain of this bacteria called Wolbachia into the male mosquitoes, and then release them in the wild. So when they mate with a female, the female's eggs will not be viable and they won't become the threats that they are right now to our mosquitoes. So that's the easiest way I can explain that process that we're working with. And again, it takes partners that you mentioned. We have interns in the park. We work with other partners, both government and private landowners and nonprofit organizations. Truly, we are on an island. We depend on each other. So this is not a one-man show. It's definitely the work of so many. And part of it is education too. And so, I'm looking forward to hearing what the students have to say and how to combat and what they think, what kind of solutions had come up to help us save our native birds.
Well, so kids, here we go. So we know we partner with the UN Global Goals. There are 1 through 17, these sustainability goals that the United Nations, the world is depending on you to help solve before the year 2030. So we need to get going on this. We're going to look at 2 of those goals today. Ranger Honeygirl talked about climate change, climate action. So we're going to look at goal 13, which is climate action, and then also goal 15, which is life on land. We want you to do some observations in your own communities. We want you to look and see what types of birds you have there. You might even get into the field of phenology, which is watching the birds the same time every day over a period of time to see what birds are coming into your neighborhood that are always there that you can depend on, and then what other types of birds come into your neighborhood at different times of the year. We want you to take some observational notes on that. We want you to take care of your watersheds. As Ranger Honeygirl said, they have to make sure that the water here is clean and clear for the birds to eat or drink, if you will, and also the other flora and fauna that live here. What are some other ideas that you can think of that we could ask the kids to look at? So observation, which you guys do a lot of, right? Making sure that water areas are clean, free of plastics and all types of trash. But can you think of any other thing you'd like them to try?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is going to be, for us, we call this season in Hawaii Ho'owilo, which means the wet season. And so with the wet season and moisture and precipitation and rains that come in, they tend to collect in places. And so just take a walk around your yard and see where that water collects and empty that out, turn it over. Mosquitoes love stagnant and warm waters, and that's where they can breed the best. That's what they like. And so that's one simple way you can help your own native birds in your area and protecting them as well.
So once you do this, once you do these acts of kindness, if you will, for your area, we're going to share this with Ranger Honeygirl, because some of the things that you observe or some of the things that you come up with could be potential solutions for the rangers and the interns and all the resource people that work here at the park. You see, Haleakala is a special place, but they also know that where you live is a special place, and it's up to us to take care of things. We often talk about November being the kindness month. That doesn't mean just to each other, it means to our earth. So you're going to tag all of your submissions at Dacia 92. You're also going to tag the National Park Foundation and Haleakalā National Park, because they're going to be looking for some solutions to help out their interns who are working on this problem, the rangers. Now, Ranger Honeygirl is not very old, but Dr. Drizzle here is. So sometimes our ideas are not very good because, you know, sometimes as adults we quit too quickly, right? If we try something that didn't work, we just kind of want to give up. Kids don't do that as much. They want to save the earth too, because they've got a lot of investment here. They want to make sure that this place is around for a long time for them. I'm excited, of course, to see what they create, but I'm also excited for them to dig in to the culture and the natural resources here. This is much more than just what you see. While we were down in the little forest area that was non-native, you said a lot of diversity happens on the understory, like underground. There's a lot of diversity. Well, we know there's a lot of diversity in our schools, and that's a good thing. Like, we want that diversity in people and in plants and animals, because the more diverse the group of people, the better the conversations. And I think these are the kids that are going to change the world. But they're going to want that hat that you have on. We hear that so much, like, how can I be a ranger? Even if they're sitting in a third grade classroom right now, not long from now, they're going to be finished. So if you wouldn't mind looking in that camera and give them some advice on how they can work at any national park site, but maybe even here.
Absolutely, Dacia. So, aloha everyone. First of all, I want to say the National Park Service is such a great place to work, and depending on your interest, the National Park Service has so many different kinds of jobs. So not all rangers look like me. Some rangers are actually behind the desk and doing the more important work, which is that paperwork. Some of you love computers. Some of you like being on the computer. Some of you like taking pictures, videos like this. We need people with your eye to help us to film our resources and share that information out. So just start with your interests. What are you interested in? Do you like to work with animals? We have lots of animals here, like birds and insects that we protect. Do you like plants? We have lots of plants that need your help to collect seed and plant them, and then plant them out in the open, in the wild. Do you like teaching others? That's what I do, is teach others and tell them about the resources. Do you like explaining rules and policies and regulations? We have law enforcement and visitor and resource protection. We have a mule team here too. So if you want to work with mules and help us pack our supplies down into the crater where you're hiking into this in the wilderness area. Do you like building things? We have people that need to help us with our facilities and build new facilities, maintain facilities. So it's really limitless on the kinds of things that you can do in the national park. And, just where you are at school, you focus on what you're doing. If you're good at math, you do the math. If you're good at reading, you do the reading. If you're good at talking with people and relating to people, do that. So what you're interested in now, I'd say go for it and build on that. Build on your strengths and what you have, and you'll be surprised in what opens up for you in the future. Any internships? We have our internship here today. Her name is Melia. She's been helping us with our education programs and teaching the kids about our resources. So you can volunteer at parks. Take your family and spend a couple of hours at your nearest national park site. you know, national parks come in all kinds of different sites. We have battlefields, we have lake shores, we have monuments, historical places. So again, whatever you're interested, if you love history, then do that. So that would be my recommendation. As I mentioned earlier, the plants is what interested me, and it opened my world into the world of conservation. And you know, I really wanted to work with plants, and I do in a way, but most importantly, I get to share what I learned about plants to others so that they can help us protect this for you and your children's 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 children, right? So one day you'll be here, and we want you to experience and see what we're experiencing and seeing today. So that would be my recommendation.
Well, thank you so much. I love the two words conservation, and I also like conversation, because to me they kind of connect, if you will. You kind of have conversations about conservation. So kids that love to talk, you said that they could be really successful here, and they want to wear the hat. So I'm just saying they're going to be here in 10 years. There are going to be some kids here that said, you know what, I watched that video back in 2022, and now I'm a park ranger because of you, Honeygirl. So thanks for inspiring them.
You're welcome.
So how do I say thank you?
If you want to say thank you in Hawaiian, it is mahalo.
So mahalo to the National Park Foundation, to Haleakalā National Park, to Ranger Honeygirl, to our intern Malia, to our new cameraman Oliver. On behalf of Dr. Drizzle and Ranger Honeygirl, aloha.
Aloha.